For the past year, I've been doing technical sound design contract work on the multiplayer survival horror game Dirge. It is asymmetrical, similar to Dead by Daylight, where up to 4 people play as investigators and 1 player is a monster hunting those investigators. This video gives a simple breakdown of the many audio systems I made for this project. Replication. Dirge handles multiplayer with a peer-to-peer networking model instead of us having a dedicated server. In order for any code to be replicated for all clients and not just for one person, it must always go through an event that fires on the server first. Then after that server event, it goes to a multicast event and unreplicated event where each client is solely responsible for executing the event themselves, eliminating any latency that would arise if only using a multicast event and not the unrep event after that. This is important because no sound is ever played by a multicast event, as it would reach all clients at different times. Each client is responsible for spawning their own sounds from within their player controller. This is nice as all sounds in the game are almost always played from this one blueprint itself, making for a unified and less fragmented audio playback system. Our PC parent is already referenced in memory by most of the blueprints in our game anyways, so always casting to it is fine. The types of play sound events are attached on a particular component of an actor, at location, and spawned audio components, for when we don't want to pre-attach an audio component to a character, as this will certainly increase memory use for a multiplayer game with many characters like Dirge. All of these take a soft reference to a sound as input and use this macro to check validity and load. Nearly all sounds are these soft references as they are much more memory efficient. Alternate locally controlled sounds. This is one of the main audio playback systems of Dirge, building on the replication code I just discussed. Essentially what it means is that locally controlled clients hear a 2D stereo sound play for some things, while clients around that hear a 3D sound played at the location instead. All of this is accomplished within just one blueprint and audio file. The best example of this is for the monster player, which is always played in the first person, while investigators are always third person. Having the monster's locomotion sounds play as 2D stereo really adds a great level of immersion, making you really feel like the monster. The other player seeing that monster hears that sound summed to mono instead and played at location, giving a clearer spatialization of the sound. Since monsters and investigators both derive from our main character blueprint, it is all done in there. When I want one of these alternate locally controlled sounds to play, I simply just call this server one-shot attached sound, then it just checks whether the pawn calling it is locally controlled or not and plays a 2D sound or sound at location accordingly, passing in the mono parameter to the meta sound too. I imagine this would be especially good with something like a multiplayer FPS game, where players would be making sounds for footsteps, locomotion, weapon foley, voice lines, and you'd need to be able to hear those things clearly when other players around you are making those sounds too. All in all, the biggest challenge and learning experience in Dirge was studying the very large codebase the programmers created and seeing where audio could fit into the picture, whether it was building upon simple audio prototypes or designing brand new systems entirely. Check out the gameplay video in my portfolio as well to hear a full game in context.